Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are coming from. It's Charlene Lee, and today I'm going to be talking about AI and what we call oftentimes use cases. But I'm going to debunk that idea that you can have AI use cases because I think it gets us into trouble a lot of times. And today I'm going to talk about how to think about AI and the value it creates in a very, very different way. So I just want to go and just make sure that one thing in particular is working. Okay, great. I'm just getting some error messages here. Right. So a couple of things. Again, sorry for a little bit of a late start this morning. Technical difficulties is what I'm finding is going on here today. You gotta love the internet. All right. So one of the things that again, I sort of titled this as a red herring because the idea is that we oftentimes go and look for AI use cases. And I can't tell you how many times I go into an organization and somebody says, "Look, we need to put together a strategy, and here are all the AI use cases that we've put together." And so I'll just give you an example. I'm just showing my slides here. Oftentimes, this is the chart that I get, something that looks like this. And again, I generated this list from all the different places that I've seen people say, this is how we can use AI. And they typically put into a couple different categories of how we can use it to analyze data, automate tasks, and also optimize for different types of operations. And you can go and make hundreds of these use cases and come up with, again, a gazillion of them. And it's not to say it's not useful. It is what I'm saying here. And again, you can get my slides. Let me pull it up. I think Jay has put it out there, and I'm just going to put it here too as well. If you'd like to get a list of all of these applications, and these are real examples that I've pulled from, you can go and get that. But I think the problem is we lose sight of what the whole purpose of this exercise is, which is to come up with a strategy. And the problem with a list like that, this list, just this giant list, is that it's simply not a strategy. Again, use cases are not a strategy. And when I ask people again, show me your strategy, they come up with this giant list. It doesn't help you. And so, what I want to talk about today is how do you actually come up with a strategy? We talked about that in previous weeks. And what I wanted to talk about today is how do you move an organization out of thinking about use cases, making this huge long list, and instead into what I call applications. And the idea is we're not going to shift too far away from it because it's not to say all those things are not helpful. But I really want us to move away from use cases, which is what can we do with this technology, into applications. What problems can we solve? And to take a higher level look at those problems that you can solve, put them into very specific categories, three big categories, and then really look at this one biggest issue is how can we use generative AI to close strategic gaps? So I did a previous live stream. I've written about it in my LinkedIn newsletter. So I'm happy to send that to you. You can find those pretty quickly and easily. So one of the things is all right. Again, okay, looks like we're having some more difficulties here today. I'm going to just make sure I'm on the best possible connection here. Okay, just switch connections to make sure this goes ahead. All right. And also, this recording can be found later on YouTube, on LinkedIn, wherever this live stream is being filmed. But being shown, you can always get the archive of it, the recording. Someone's asking here. All right. So, but basically, when we're looking at AI strategy, generative AI strategy, you're looking at your biggest strategic gaps and saying, how can we fill them? And this requires that you understand what AI can do. What are the biggest problems it can address? What are the biggest applications of it? And if you stay at that minute, microscopic use case situations, and you're looking at these small use cases, the problem is that it's really difficult to connect them back to your strategic gaps. And so doing that translation back and forth is very, very difficult. So today I'm going to introduce a different type of concept. And it's a little complicated. Let me just close off this banner so that we can see it better. Let's see. Just trying to find it. Okay, here we go. So the generative AI flywheel is the way that we're thinking about this. So there are three areas, big areas of value that generative AI creates. The first one is in efficiency. Again, driving operational excellence. This is all the productivity and efficiency. That is the vast majority of how generative AI is being used today. But then there's also this area of enhancing customer engagement and that experience that is made just so much better. And we're finding again many fewer organizations who are looking at that. But again, we're seeing some organizations that are focusing on productivity, efficiency, using those gains, using those to enhance customer engagement, using the customer engagement and all the information they're finding from engaging with customers better, and then finding new opportunities to serve those customers or even moving into new areas. Again, the third area, which is innovation. And innovation in the end creates even more data to allow you to have better efficiency, more enhanced customer engagement, again, drives innovation. That's why we call this the generative AI flywheel. Because when you can start with just the productivity and efficiency side, you can then start this whole flywheel moving. And it just generates more and more value the more times you go through it. Because you're putting this in the context of your over AI of your overall AI strategy. And then it's also generating this value over and over again. So I want to go into a little bit more detail, but I can't emphasize enough how important this flywheel is because we oftentimes think again of these use cases as individual things. And yet, when you tie them together into the flywheel, it starts making sense in that generative AI isn't just this isolated use case. It has a lot of connections into other parts of the organization. And this is the reason why strategy is so important. Because once you get the flywheel going, you're thinking, I'm doing this, and the next thing it's going to generate is that, and then eventually innovation. You need a plan to figure out where you're going to invest first, second, and third, how you're going to decide where you're going to play, and how you're going to win. And I believe that exercising the generative AI flywheel is a key part of this strategy. So, understanding how it works inside of your organization is going to be a key part of your success to, again, developing a true competitive advantage with your generative AI efforts. Because this is the reality. If you just do the productivity and efficiency, everyone else is going to do the same thing. And it's again table stakes. You have to do that. But to be truly competitive, to develop that competitive edge with generative AI, you need to think beyond that, to think about your customers and also into innovation. So I want to see if there are any questions as we go along here. Okay, great. It sounds like people were having some issues if you refresh, and that seems to solve the problem. So fingers crossed, you're able to see the stream. Yeah, you just gotta love technology. All right. So let me go on and talk a little bit about just some of the ideas here. So let me do a deeper dive into operational efficiency. This is much more than cost cutting and just productivity, optimization, and efficiency. It is really laying the foundation. Again, as I said, it's the table stakes for really not just competitive advantage, but for sustainable advantage. Because if you do this over and over again, you'll continuously find new opportunities. It's not one and done. You're looking for opportunities to always be more efficient and more productive. So, again, one of the reasons why it's so foundational to do this part is that you're finding and releasing all these pent up resources that are stuck doing repetitive things. You're improving quality, reducing errors, and again, just making more efficient. You can scale operations, and then also you can just respond more quickly to the market changes that are happening. And then the key here is to be really focused on the future with your productivity and efficiency applications of generative AI and ask these kind of questions. How can these improvements enable us to better serve customers? Again, that's the next stage of the flywheel, enhancing customer experience. So, looking at the productivity gains, the efficiency gains to say, how do we release these resources so that we can do something else with them? This is not about making things more productive and efficient just so we can cut those people. That may be one of your goals so you can release budget, but really, what are you enabling inside of your organization to be able to allow people to enhance customer experiences in the next stage of the flywheel? And then what new opportunities do these things unlock? Again, it may not be completely visible at the very beginning as you embark on these efficiency gains, but as you look at them and reveal and dive into them, you may see more opportunities, again, for more efficiency, for more enhancement, or even new opportunities for customer for innovation and disruption. So I have this great question coming in from Jay. Internally focused rather than externally focused. Of course, external products, but not expanded data sets. I think the question becomes, but the thing I think, Jay, is that I think the question is, of course, you want to be externally focused eventually, but I think that internal focus is a great place to begin, especially if the organization is risk adverse. It doesn't feel necessarily comfortable engaging with customers yet. So it's about also gaining confidence as an organization on how to use generative AI, how to trust generative AI to do the work that you want it to do and to do it well and efficiently and again in a consistent basis. Again, I hear from so many organizations. They are concerned about how reliable it is, how it hallucinates, and again, training it on to do tasks that are internally focused is a very, very good first step in terms of feeling comfortable with AI. So I want to give one quick case example. I love this one coming from Pfizer. One of the things that Pfizer did globally in this marketing department is to start using AI to generate content. And of course, it makes sense. It just does it really efficiently. And they're up to about 15% of their content now being created by generative AI. And what they also found are some different advantages is that it again personalizes many of the messages, especially targeting various doctor segments. They're able to more efficiently optimize their plans based on all of the data that they're getting from AI. And I love this part in particular because as they're going through and creating that personalized content and also localizing it for different markets, again, Pfizer is a global marketing organization, they're improving their compliance in that 40% of the content now, it doesn't require a detailed review by a lawyer. It can use AI to review it, make sure it's compliant with local laws, or again with any sort of personalization issues that they may have, and then they can just approve it, and they can look for those exceptions, and then human can actually go through and look at that. But again, they're increasing the percentage of the content that can be approved without human review. Again, it requires a tremendous amount of testing and confidence building on the part of legal that is extremely risk averse for them to feel comfortable with this technology doing the job well and consistently. So this is again a huge step forward for Pfizer in terms of making the organization more productive and efficient. And then that allows them to use those extra resources to again use a lot of the data they're generating to again move into customer engagement. All right, so I have a couple questions here. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good for now. I'm going to come back and address some of these questions a little bit later. All right, so just going on, just to talk a little bit more about just how to do this. Uh, Again, one of the easiest ways to do this is that you already have existing operations and processes inside of organizations. Really look at these big value chains inside of organizations and then identify those opportunities. Again, bottlenecks, things that are repetitive, that are prone to errors, and then brainstorm how AI can address each of those pain points. And then very specifically, quantify the impact. Now, this may feel very, very similar to the whole idea of generating use cases, but it's a different intent behind it. And the idea here is instead of saying we're just going to pinpoint a long list of these, the whole purpose of this is to increase efficiency so that you can do other things like enhance customer engagement, like develop new products and services that serve new customers in new and different ways. So it's the underlying purpose and the reason behind the efficiency that elevates it from being individual use case into applications that support strategic intent. So a couple other things that we want to go into, and I'm just watching the time here, is to look at customer engagement. So we know that customers have extremely high, sky high expectations of how they want to engage with organizations. And generative AI it just enables so many different types of engagements that you can have with customers in a much better and different way. So I just listed a bunch of them here. It can be much more context aware. Again, have more personalized experiences that can, again, enhance loyalty with your customers. We have real time personalization, proactive support. I'm loving this part of it, which is where organizations are able to identify when somebody is potentially needing some support based on various behaviors they're detecting, especially if it's online data they have, and to be able to reach out to people. Again, and just seamless integration, especially across multiple channels, just being able to take all that data and just mush it together. And again, some of the future ways to think about this is how can these improvements, again, just better serve customers and what new opportunities will they unlock? And so one of the what examples I want to give is ING Bank. So they were finding that about 20% of their customer inquiries that were coming in from voice and from chat were had to be escalated to human agents. They were trying to do this with various chatbots that they had. And they found that the existing chatbots just weren't able to take on that last fifth of the top most complex things that need to be escalated. And the biggest problem is they only had operators primarily doing regular working hours. So if you're doing something with your bank, with your accounts in the evening, which is when I do my accounting and things, there's nobody there to help you. So they built an AI chat powered chatbot, one that was tied into their knowledge bases, and very importantly, they also had it with some significant risk guardrails. So it wasn't giving advice on things that it wasn't qualified to do. And they built this in less than 2 months. And they found that it handled 20% more of those complex inquiries. So again, partly productivity oriented, but very much from a customer engagement perspective, they were able to answer more and more of these questions, again, by using AI. And it also, what they found was that the AI provided even better responses, more detailed responses, more empathetic and tailored and personalized responses to people. So the overall engagement and the customer satisfaction was rising. So again, just one quick example of how one organization is using AI to not only increase productivity, but the main reason they did it was to be able to go and respond to customers in a much more efficient way. And again, just increasing and improving that experience for them. And then one way to think about how to do this is to do what I call persona-based customer journey mapping. Again, if you are in the customer experience space, you have a lot of personas, you have a lot of journey maps. So take those and then reimagine them with generative AI. What are the ways that you could create more personalized content that could enhance that journey at various sticking points? Where are places where proactive support could really make a big difference? And then think about how you could use AI to assist with onboarding of a new customer or training them on how to use these tools, because some of them are sometimes very complex. Your products might be there. And then also thinking about how you can use AI to take real-time data and to inform the way that you're responding to those customers. Again, quantifying the impact. I'm all about measuring things. So, how is this impacting customer satisfaction, loyalty, upsell opportunities? Whatever you're using to measure customer experience right now, use those same metrics to see is generative AI moving the needle on those metrics. So that's a quick view of the first two. I'm going to do a very quick spin into innovation. So what's interesting about the flywheel is again, engagement, better engagement with your customers is going to support innovation. So this is not about sitting in a locked room with your AI and just brainstorming up new ways that you can use AI. I think again, it's iterative and yet you're using it to create more efficiencies, you're enhancing experiences with your customers, engaging with them in new and different way. And that is going to give you extremely large amounts of data that you can then use to uncover and discover unmet needs, these pain points that customers have, that you can develop new products and services for those existing customers. Or even better, you may identify new opportunities, new customers that you can go after. My previous book, The Disruption Mindset, talked about how do you look for disruptive opportunities. And I always talk about look at the needs of your future customers. And what I find by engaging with your current customers, you will always find a set of customers on the edges, on the fringes, who are mildly or extremely dissatisfied with your products and services. So take a really good look at them and say, how can we use generative AI to serve them? How can we meet these unmet needs? What new capabilities do we now have because we are more productive and efficient? Because we now know how to serve our customers better. We have these new skills and capabilities and even ways of thinking and working that allow us to move into new areas and develop new products and even disrupt things. So I think one of the ways that I found so interesting about this flywheel is that you can start at any point, but it is a very natural life cycle to go from efficiency to customer experience enhancement and then into innovation. So let me give you an example of one organization that did this. And they did it a little bit backwards because they started looking at AI and select quote. Again, they do a lot of incoming quotes from people for insurance, again, highly regulated. And then what they found is that there were thousands of calls coming in that they were not answering because they were deemed to be lower priority based on the phone number that they had. And so the team created a generative AI voice agent that would answer those calls. And they developed it very quickly over 2 weeks, and it generated hundreds of thousands of dollars within just the first month. And what they also found is by expanding that into other calls and areas, they were able to free up more human agents to answer the more complex calls that may be coming out of those calls that they were actually answering. So again, there was this flywheel. They looked at it initially for ways to, again, just free up people. But they realized that the voice agent could be really good at moving into this new market and finding new ways to be able to serve a market that they could never serve before because they just didn't have the resources and the people. So, this is a small way of thinking about innovation and how it's very much linked into the efficiency space and also the customer engagement space, but allow them to innovate very, very quickly in a new way that allowed them to move into a new market that was unserved up to that point. So I think again, just thinking about the flywheel, the innovation space is really interesting because it really supports back and creates again more data that you can use to create more productivity and efficiency. And it also gives you more data that allows you then to enhance again those customer engagements that you want to produce. So I think again, this whole flywheel idea is a different way to think about generative AI in the way it creates value, rather than again this huge long list of use cases. It helps you package those individual use cases together into big buckets that you can then look at and say, well, how does that move our big ball of strategy forward? How does it help us win with generative AI? And it's a much more, I think, compelling way and unified way to think about all of these use cases together and how they can support each other. All right, I got a bunch of questions over here. I'm just going to look at them over here for a second. Um, okay, so this is one from Lynn. Great to see you, Lynn. The greatest overlooked use of AI in business is to harvest customer comments for what should Department X adjust. You're so right. I think all of that customer insight, and you have this other point here then. Thanks for reminding everyone how customer insights can inspire innovation of all kinds. Again, so many different types of innovation. Lynn, what you're pointing out, it is so important to listen to our customers. And there is so much customer feedback. We cannot wrap our minds and our hands around it as an organization. And generative AI can take all of that feedback, understand it in context of a particular problem, and summarize that for us in real time. So it is a fantastic way to be able to mine that data. It's a great use case, again, I think, across many areas. All right. Ram has this question. Any thoughts on, as you are building the models, to base it on open source models versus proprietary models? Are companies making the choice part of their strategy? Great question, Ram. I should probably do a session on just how to think about technology in the models. There's been so much change since I did that a few months ago. So great question. I think the actual model that you use on the back end is less important than what you put around that model because you're investing a lot of time into making sure your models get integrated into your data sets, into the way that your organization works, your processes. And the reality is the models will continue to change. So today it will be something from ChatGPT, and then Llama will have another model that's really good, and then Claude will have another one, and Cohere will have another one, and here comes Gemini from Google. And to commit to only one type of model, I think is very dangerous. And the so I think the way to think about it is how do you make it so your tech stack is flexible enough that you can choose which model you want to use for a particular task. And I mean, even inside of particular models like ChatGPT, you have some more basic ones that are much cheaper to run, or you can use their O1 newest model, very expensive, slow, that you only want to use for certain tasks that require chain of thought, for example. So being able to choose the right model for the task and to be able to swap in and out the models for the particular task over time as they develop, that flexibility is key. So open source versus closed models are less important than that flexibility. Now, there are other reasons why open source is better than closed. Again, the flexibility, the contracts, the costs, so many other things that you want to take into account. But the number one thing I think about here is that not that if it's open or closed to be so much to say you have to use one versus the other. It's really for the particular task, for the particular application, again, that you have, what is the best model to have? Let's see, a couple other questions we have from Nick. Any thoughts on success maturity of multilingual customer service environments? I can tell you, again, I've been playing with 11 labs and a lot of these various multilingual. It is getting really, really good. The real-time aspects of it are amazing. It can, again, be able to detect that language coming in is being used and it'll respond in that language. The chatbots that I have right now for myself that I use, are doing this extremely well, my testing. So I really, Nick, I think the reality is Right, I am back. It looks like I am on a very slow phone connection here. But I just wanted to end by saying, let's see. Um, let's say I'm going to be again. Thank you for standing by, and again, just love my internet connections. I will be back in a week on October 22nd at 9 o'clock, and I'll be talking about how to get your workforce up to speed on generative AI. So hopefully, that my comments went through on the last comments with Nick. Let's see. Again, just thank you for bearing with me through all of the ups and downs with the stream. And again, good luck with all of the work that you're doing with creating a strategy. And again, just reminder, don't fall into the use case trap because again, it's going to, again, if you think of it as thinking small, staying small, and never being able to scale versus thinking big about your organization, how you want to create competitive advantage, starting small with some of these applications along that flywheel and then using the flywheel to again just build and build your AI capabilities into that big competitive advantage. All right, I think that's it for now. All right, take care, everyone, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.